Today, Saturday, the 21st of December 2024, we have some hand-picked match prediction events to share with you, which will be backed up by some stats and analytics to help you make your picks in the list to boost your winning by a greater percent. And to those of you who want to have access to the hand-picked events which we share to members only, as well as our top 10, 1.5 and 2.5 goal match picks, and corner kick events with huge odds which we share to members only, to take your winning to the next height, then of course, you want to make sure to join the Level 2 Pro membership package plan. To join, the link is below this video description. You want to make sure to navigate, click and join to become a member and start to have access to all of these features. And once you become a member of the Level 2 Pro plan and visit the home section, as you can see, we have the video section, the home section on this channel. You're going to see some bet strategy which you can benefit from it, like never seen match prediction strategy, our 8-game events which we share, top 10, 1.5 and 2.5 goals, bet strategy, winning strategy, never seen soccer betting strategy, which we always keep updating them. We also provide corner kick events and some tips to help you improve your winning chance. So to become a member, you want to make sure to follow the link below this video and navigate to join to start having access to all of these features. So without wasting time, I'm going to begin with the first match pick of today's list. Looking at the first event, we are looking at Bolivia in the division that is professional division or professional league. We are looking at Bolivia against Gubira. In this event, first I will share with you the recent game performance of the home. Bolivia, based on recent event they proved to be very offensive, scoring 4 and 5 goals per each event. The opponent, on the other hand, is not as offensive as compared to Bolivia, which is the home team. And looking at the recent head-to-head which they had, Bolivia played at the way it beat Gubira by 3 goals to 0. This time it is still having a very good form and it is coming home. Looking at the stands performance comparison in terms of the home and away game played, Bolivia proved to have a very high offensive power. They've had 5 games recently, 4 leads, 19 goals scored and 5 conceded. That's a good offensive power. And looking at the defense of the away, the defensive line of the away team is not very tough. And of course, the offensive line is not good. And looking at everything in place, want to look at 2 major picks here in full time. For this particular event, of course, the performance of Bolivia, the home team, proved to be very offensive. And since the defensive line of its opponent is not great, we are looking at the home team, Bolivia, to take advantage of the weak defense of the away to lead in full time as one of the major picks. And we also want to look at the possibility of at least 1.5 or 2 goals over to occur in this match in full time for this particular event. Looking at the next pick, we'll look at Cyprus Division 2, a match between Old Nicosia against Pia. In this event, of course, the home team have proved to be of better offense based on recent event they have had. But the opponent, on the other hand, proved to be very conceding based on recent event. The defensive line is not good. Looking at the recent head-to-head which they have just had, they have met twice this year, and Nicosia always lead and scoring 4 goals in the most recent event they just had. Comparing the stands in terms of recent gameplay performance, they're going to see that the home Old Nicosia, of course, proved to be on the better stand. They have had 9 goals scored for 5 games played and 2 goals conceded. The offense is good and the defense is also very good. But that of Pia, on the other hand, the defensive line, looking at it here, is not great. And looking at every comparison, we want to look at 2 major picks here in full time. For this particular event, the defensive line of Pia, the away team, is not great. And as a result, the home want to take advantage of that weak defense of the away to either lead in full time or looking at the possibility of at least 1.5 goal to occur in this match in full time. And since the last head-to-head resulted to the home team to lead at least 2-3 goals, of course, this time the form is still there and we want to look at least 1.5 goal in full time for this particular event. Looking at the next, we look at Asia Championship, a match between Vietnam against Myanmar. Looking at this, of course, the recent performance gameplay of the home team proved to be better in offense as compared to that of the away, which is, of course, based on this recent match event. Looking at the stand performance comparison of these two, Vietnam, which is the home, of course, proved to have a good offense. They've had 3 games recently, scoring 6 goals and conceding 2. The opponent, Myanmar, on the other hand, is also average at scoring and the defense is not very tight. And looking at everything in place, we want to look at 2 major picks in full time. For this particular event, of course, both side defense are not tough And since the fact that the offensive power is at least better for each of the side, we are looking at each side to take advantage and having high scoring capacity in terms of offensive strike on and off target. We are looking at least 1.5 goal in full time since both sides want to impress. So at least 1.5 goal is what we want to look at for this event in full time. Looking at the next here, we'll look at Israel in the Liga Hal, a match between Maccabi Tel Aviv against Maccabi Petah Tikva. For this particular event, the performance of the home based on recent gameplay have proved to be very offensive, scoring 2 to 3 goals per each event recently, especially in the EL, that is Europa League, against ROFS, that is Rigas. Its opponent, on the other hand, is a very conceding team, and the defensive line is not good based on recent event they have had. The recent head-to-head which they have met, this same here, they have met 4 times, and all the 4 times you can see Maccabi Tel Aviv has lead, and you can see here they have always lead based on recent event they have had. This time, the standing power or the offense of Maccabi Tel Aviv in terms of the form table by home plate, Maccabi Tel Aviv still sit on the better place, and they've had 5 events, scoring 7 goals, conceding 5. The opponent, on the other hand, based on the defensive line, is not very good, and you can see they have conceded up to 10 goals for 5 events played. And looking here at everything in place, we want to look at 2 major picks in full time. For this particular event, of course, the performance of the home is still good in terms of recent gameplay they have had. And looking at the last head-to-head which they have met, all the times they have always led with a possibility of at least 1.5 or 2.5 going full time. This time, of course, the home teams still have a good offense, and we are looking at it to either lead in full time or still the possibility of 1.5 or 2 goals over in this event in full time. Looking at the next event, we look at France, that is France Cup, a match between Haute Lyonnais against Toulouse. Based on the recent event gameplay, the home team offense have played in the lower league, like in the CDF, which is in the Coupe de France. Of course, the performance, even though they proved to be offensive, but they are coming to meet a high offensive team, especially in the Ligue 1 of France, which has had major events, especially with very strong teams. Looking at the performance of these in terms of the performance of the away, based on recent gameplay, they have had major games with strong teams like PSG and Monaco, and that of the home, of course, have had event mostly in the CDF. And looking here at everything in place, we want to look at 2 major picks here in full. For this particular event, of course, we are looking at least 1.5 goal to occur in this match in full time. Looking at the next here, we'll still look in the Cup France, La Roche against Brest. For this event, the home team have had event mostly in the CFA, that's National 2 Group B, which is a very lesser league, comparing to Brest, the away team that have had major game in the League 1 and also in the Champions League against strong teams where they have lead. Of course, looking at everything in place here by comparison, we are looking at 2 major picks in full time. For this particular event, the way Brest is mostly have had events with very strong teams where their performance have been very offensive. And looking at the fact that they have had games with stronger teams like, for example, PSG, and as well as in the Champions League where they have lead, of course, we are looking at Brest to take advantage of the fact that they are from a higher league in the League 1 to lead against the opponent, which is the home team, and as well as the possibility of 1.5 and 2.5 goal to occur in this match in full time. Looking at the next, we look at England in the Championship, a match between Leeds against Oxford United. Looking at Leeds, its recent performance in the events they have recently had have proved to be offensive, and that of its opponent, on the other hand, is very conceding. Looking at the recent match stance performance in terms of form, based on home and away, of course, Leeds have proved to be of better stand. They lead this table, having 5 events played, 5 wins, scoring 13 goals and conceding 1. Very offensive and very defensive. But the way Oxford proved that its defensive line is not good, as you can see here. And looking at everything in place, we want to look at 2 major picks in full time. Looking at this particular event, the defensive line of the opponent, of course, proved to be very poor, and that of the home team have proved to be very offensive based on recent events they have had. Looking at this particular event, of course, the performance of the home have proved to be very offensive, and since the defensive line of its opponent is poor, of course, we are looking at lead to take advantage of that weak defense of its opponent to lead in full time as one of the major pick. We also want to look at least over 1 goal by the home team in full time. Looking at the next, we looked at Northern Ireland in the Premiership. Linfield against Glenavon. For this event, the performance of Linfield based on recent game played in terms of stand comparison have proved that the offensive power is good and the defense is not very tight. The opponent, on the other hand, of course, also proved that the defensive line is very poor in terms of recent event they've had. And looking at everything in place, we want to look at two major picks in full time. For this particular event, the defensive line of Linfield opponent have proved to be weak. We are looking at Linfield to take advantage of the weak defense of its opponent to lead in full time as one of the major pick, or just looking at the possibility of at least 1.5 goal to occur in this match in full time. Looking at the next here, we'll look at Scotland in the Premiership, a match between Rangers against Dante. And looking here, the performance of Rangers based on recent event they've had have proved to be very offensive in terms of goal scoring 3 to 4 goals per each, that is 3 goals per each event and even 6. The opponent, on the other hand, also proved that the conceding power and offense is also good. The recent head-to-head which they have had, they have met 3 times, and of course, Rangers have led twice with 2.5 goals in 2 of the events. Looking at this stand performance, Rangers by form have proved to be more offensive in terms of recent event they have had. And looking at its form performance by home, Rangers proved to sit on the second place with a very high offense and strong defense. Its opponent, on the other hand, based on offense and defense, proved that the defensive line is not very great. And looking at everything in place, we want to look at two major picks here in full time. For this particular event, the defensive line of the opponent, Dante, that is, the opponent is not very good. Rangers, based the home team, have proved to be very offensive, scoring high capacity of goals. As a result, it is going to take advantage of the weak defense of the away to lead in full time as one of the major picks. We also want to look at least 1.5 goal to occur in full time or 2 goals over. Looking at the next, we'll look at Scotland in the Championship, a match between Far Creek against Hamilton. For this event, Far Creek have proved to be very offensive based on recent events they have had, scoring 2-3 goals per each event. The opponent, on the other hand, is not that very defensive in terms of defensive line. The recent head-to-head they have met 3 times this year, probability of 1.5 and 2.5 goals, with Far Creek having more probability of having wins. Looking at the stand comparison in terms of recent events they've had, Far Creek, the home, have proved to be very offensive. They've had 8 games, scoring 19 goals, conceding 3. Good offense and good defense. But that of its opponent, on the other hand, the defensive line is not good. And looking at everything in place, we want to look at two major picks in full time. For this particular event, we are looking at Far Creek to lead in full time as one of the major picks. We also want to look at the probability of 1.5 or 2 goals over to occur in this match in full time. Looking at the next, we looked at France Cup, a match between Cote against Nice. The performance of Nice based on recent events they have had have proved that they are better, and they've had events especially in the Ligue 1, and have also had games in the EL, that is Europa League, where the performance have proved to be at least average. This time they are coming to meet a lesser team from the CDF, and looking at everything in place, we want to look at two major picks in full time. For this particular event, Nice is from a stronger league, and of course it is coming to meet the lesser league team here, which we want to look at Nice to take advantage of the weak team to lead in full time as one of the major picks, as well as the possibility of at least 1.5 goals over. Looking at the next, we look still the France Cup, this time Fake Nice against Lyon. For this event, the performance of Lyon have proved to be very offensive based on recent events they've had, scoring 3 to 4 goals per each event, and have had games in major league like EL, that is Europa League, and their performance have been great. But that of the home is mostly from the CFA, and the offensive line is not very good. Looking at everything in place here, we're looking at 2 to 3 major picks in full time. For this particular event, of course, Lyon has proved to be very offensive. Its recent offensive lineup is good, and that of the opponent, which is the home, have proved that the defensive line is not great. And since the away team have had major game played, especially in the EL, where the performance have proved to be very amazing, we are looking at Lyon to stand against the weak defense of the home to lead in full time, as well as the possibility of it to score at least 1 or 2 goals over. That is Lyon to lead and Lyon to score at least 1 or 2 goals. We're just looking at the possibility of 1.5 and 2.5 goals to occur in this match in full time. Looking at the next year, we'll look at Greece in the Super League, the match between Olympiacos against Lamia. The performance of Olympiacos have proved to be better in terms of the Super League games they've had in the Greece, but that of its opponent, on the other hand, the performance is not as good as that of the home. Looking at the recent head-to-head which they have met this time 4 times, and Olympiacos have led most of the times, and with the possibility of more goals. This time it is coming home, and the offensive line is still good. Looking at the stand comparison, of course, the home team, based on form, have proved to be very good, scoring 15 goals for 7 matches played and 5 conceded. High offense and high defense. But that of Lamia, on the other hand, is not very tough in terms of its defensive power. And looking at this, we are looking at the home to take advantage of that weak defense. Looking at this, of course, we are looking at the home to take advantage of the weak defense of the away to lead in full time as one of the major pick. We also want to look at the possibility of 1.5 goal or 2 goals over to occur in this match in full time. And to those of you who want to have access to a hand-pick event based on goals probability, corner kick event as well, and top 10 list of game and 15 match prediction picks, which we share to members only, then of course you want to make sure to join the level 2 pro plan to have access to all of these with huge odds to take your winning to the next level. To those of you who want to join, the link is below this video. You want to click to join to have access to membership perks and start to take advantage of all our game match prediction pick even many days ahead of time. Good luck and see you again in the next upload, and bye bye for now.